Hello everyone, I just want to make a quick video talking about world tiers in Diablo 4 and why right now world tier 2 is a noob trap. And when I say that world tier 2 is a noob trap, what I mean is not that if you play world tier 2 you're a noob. It's just that currently the game's not very well balanced and you're taking on actually more difficulty for less rewards by playing it over playing World Tier 1. So World Tier 1 and 2 are the tutorial. They're the start of the game, and they're not really like the actual end game challenging parts of this. You can pretty much make this equivalent to going and playing through the storyline part of Path of Exile or other ARPGs before you make it to like the maps and end game systems. You don't really start getting Paragon points, which is definitely a big part of the end game power curve, until you hit level 50. And you don't get access to basically any of the end game systems, like the Tree of Whispers, Helltide. Actually, I think Tree of Whispers is in the end of leveling up, but you don't get access to Helltide or Nightmare Dungeons, or even like the better gear mods on Sacred and Ancestral items, or Uniques even, until you get to World Tier 3. Therefore, you kind of want to spend as little time as possible in World Tier 1 and World Tier 2 if you're looking to be efficient. If you're just looking to have fun and just blast mobs and just enjoy your time, then by all means, take your time, enjoy it. Especially if you're not a content creator, there's no real reason to rush too much unless you enjoy the rush of competing against other people. But for myself personally and the guys I'm going to be playing with and gal, we're going to be trying to push to level 100 as fast as possible and hopefully be one of the first teams to do so. So how do you get to World Tier 3? First, you have to do two things. You have to complete the campaign on any character, and so you can complete that campaign on the pre-season and then carry that forward forever. You never have to do the campaign ever again. And then you also have to finish the capstone dungeon on World Tier 2. But you only have to complete the capstone dungeon on World Tier 2. You don't have to do anything else at all on World Tier 2. So you can just basically play on World Tier 1 the entire time, and then when you feel ready to take on that challenge, you just flip it up to World Tier 2, hop in the capstone dungeon, finish it off, and then flip it up to World Tier 3. Don't have to do anything else. So basically, you want to get through the story as fast as possible, and then you want to get experience and gear as much as possible, as quickly as possible, so you can take on that capstone challenge. So, is World Tier 1 or World Tier 2 faster for XP and gear? Well, the rewards for World Tier 2 are as follows. Monsters give 20% increased experience, monsters drop 15% more gold, and you can note right away that these benefits don't affect quest experience, explorer experience, or any source of experience except from monster deaths. So it's only monster related stuff. And these enemies are more challenging. And I can definitely tell you from playing through the campaign on World Tier 1 versus World Tier 2 that World Tier 2 is much more difficult than it is on World Tier 1. It will definitely take you a lot longer to fight everything, and it's definitely slower. That might not be all that much slower when you're like level 10 and you've just freshly put 7 points into your main core skill, but especially as you level up and your power level from your passive points is going down with every level, it is going to become bigger and bigger gap between the two of them. So why play World Tier 2 then? You only really want to do this if you want a slower, more challenging, more grindy early game experience. This is not going to get you to end game any faster. It's not going to make you any more or less of a gamer, but it will delay your time to end game. So if you want to play with your friends in end game, you really don't want to play in World Tier 1. So how about some math? So since World Tier 2 adds 0 extra loot, like I want to remind you, the rewards are increased experience from monster kills and increased gold drop from monsters. Nothing else about loot at all. There's no more legendaries, more loot drops. There's no additional loot from World Tier 2. That means that if you're slowed down by even 1% by switching up to World Tier 2, that means you're getting less loot. Let me repeat that again. If you are slowed down by playing in World Tier 2 compared to World Tier 1 by even 1%, that means you are getting less loot for the same time played. And then if you're slowed by 17% or more, you are also getting less experience, since 83% speed times that 1.2 XP multi is at 99.6% XP. So that means you only break even on XP at 16% slowed. So if you're like 5% slowed by going up to World Tier 2, then like you're getting a little bit more XP. But right now, the rewards for going to World Tier 2 are extremely poor. It is not worth doing it by any stretch of the imagination in terms of for rewards. So basically, if you're not one-shotting everything, then you're slowing down your XP and your loot by playing on World Tier 2. World Tier 2 is kind of like the equivalent of Path of Exile League mechanics. You just don't really want to touch it at all until it's time for endgame, which is Capstone in this case. And yeah, I mean, I don't really like that personally. I would prefer that playing on the more challenging, more difficult variant of the game provided more rewards, but right now it's just not the case. Now, concerning travel time, I know a lot of this came up when we were talking in chat. Travel time does not change between World Tier 1 and World Tier 2. Especially when doing the campaign, you're still going to be running from the same spot to the same spot. Therefore, it doesn't really factor into our equation all that much. Just like basic algebra, if two things are the same on the same side of the equation, or different sides of the equation, you can take them away. However, you will finish the fighting parts of the campaign faster in World Tier 1, so you'll get your mount faster in World Tier 1, and you'll be riding along in your mount while the World Tier 2 guys are still walking. And this is definitely a big deal if you're like a necromancer who doesn't even have any movement skills. So I think for me, the strategy is going to be create character, select World Tier 1, blast right through the main story quest, just completely tunnel in on the main story quest as much as you possibly can. You still do need to kill some stuff as you're going through to keep up with the minimum level requirements of the zones, but it's not really all that bad from what we've seen in the first zone. Maybe it's worse in Ska's Glen or Dry Steps, we'll have to find out. And then after you finish the main story quest, that's when you can start to like really focus on gearing up more from like running dungeons or events. This is kind of maybe a good time to finish more dungeons if you really want to finish out your renown rewards. Otherwise, I really wouldn't even touch like Altars of Lilith and stuff, especially not before you have them out. And then switch to World Tier 2, run Capstone, enter World Tier 3, and then I'm probably going directly to the PvP area because there's probably not going to be very many people there at all. And granted, you probably won't bump into many people, period, in the PvP areas. But in World Tier 3, the only people that are probably going to be there, the people that are going super duper fast from like World Tier 1, and they probably don't want a PvP. They probably just want to focus on farming it out. And so here, the PvP area is a really great spot to farm for loot. Now, if you like this and you like more information about Diablo 4 mechanics, I do have a series that I've kind of animated here a little bit. It's called Diablo University. So far, I've done videos on Paragon, Lucky Hit, some gem stuff. They did update a lot of the gems in the last Server Slam, so I might need to update this a little bit, but it gives you a general idea of gems and how Fortify works. There was definitely some Fortify mechanics that I was a little bit surprised about, so I highly recommend these videos, and maybe I'll put a button to this playlist up in the air here. I'm going to put this whole presentation in the description below. You can just link this to your friends if you're trying to have a hard time deciding whether or not you want to do World Tier 1 or World Tier 2. But thank you much for watching my video. We'll see you again next time.